Welcome to the Popcorn Wine Down with Tammy and Eddie. Grab your popcorn, get yourself a glass of wine, and come hang out with us as we discuss TV shows, movies, music, and pop culture.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wine Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us this week. We will be discussing Dash and Lily. But first, let's get to the wine down. So, Tammy, have you heard the world was introduced this week to Elliot Page, formerly known as actress Ellen Page. He came out as transgender and non-binary. So,
doesn't non-binary mean no gender?
He said that his pronouns were he and they, so I guess he's leaning more towards
they, them, and theirs.
Yeah, and maybe he feels more, if he had to identify with a gender, then it would be male. So, and I read the letter that he wrote, and it was very poignant and talked about the fear and the dangers that are associated with being transgender, more so than any other group or subgroup of the LGBTQ community. And also talked about the number of missing and exploited and murdered transgender, the highest exploited group, I guess, being Black and Hispanic transgender women. And that leads me into what happened to Laverne Cox this week. She was attacked in Griffin Park in LA. So she's okay. She said it could have been worse. It seemed like it was more scary than violent. Someone just came up to her and a friend and got in their faces. And as soon as she called 911, that person took off. So, hopefully she will be okay. But that was really two really interesting stories, I thought, this week. And also, I don't know if you heard, but the WB, Warner Brothers, they own HBO Max, and their quest to bring HBO Max up to the level of Netflix. They first decided to release Wonder Woman early, which I know you're happy about.
It's the best movie of the year.
You haven't even seen it yet.
It's the best movie of the year.
Okay. So they are releasing Wonder Woman on HBO Max, but they took it a step farther. So once everyone had just kind of gotten used to that idea and everyone was okay with it, even the theaters, because, again, we are in the middle of a raging out of control pandemic and a lot of theaters are shutting back down. A lot of cities and states are starting to shut back down, California being the main one so far. So they were like, yeah, okay. But then Warner Brothers decides that they are going to Wonder Woman their entire 2021 slate of movies, meaning that they are going to release them simultaneously on HBO as they are on HBO Max as they are released in the theater. So that means Matrix 4, Dune.
Wait, did you just say Matrix 4?
Yes, all of their movies, their entire slate of movies.
Wait. They're doing a Matrix 4?
You didn't know that?
Lord Jesus, why don't they just leave some things alone?
Yeah, you didn't know that? They were almost finished with it when Rona hit, so they had to shut it.
Is Keanu Reeves in it?
Yeah.
And Carrie Ann Moss, or whatever her name is?
Mm-hmm.
And Lawrence Fishburne?
I don't know about Lawrence Fishburne. I think he may have a smaller role in it. I don't think the storyline is going to focus so much on them as it is them passing the torch. So that is my understanding. But I know Keanu Reeves and Carrie Ann Moss, their characters have a bigger role. I'm not sure if Fishburne's in it or not. I'd have to double check that.
Wow, that's news to me. I just did not know about that. But okay, cool.
Yeah. So when they announced that, though, it kind of sent shockwaves through Hollywood. The theater stocks, they tanked, and they were already in a fragile place. And they kind of rebounded a little bit. AMC was like, no, this is not good news. And Cinemark was a little bit more optimistic. They were like, well, when the world gets right, I know that they will go back to the regular windows, which usually gave theaters 90 days before movies went to streaming and DVDs and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. I, for one, am not really excited about it because it's going to forever change movie going. And
it will, but right now I feel that with, pandemic, like just going buck wild in America, like it's the best option that we have. Because even when the vaccine comes out, like we're still going to have to make sure we social distance and everything like that. And I haven't been to the theater in months and I miss it. I do. I miss the experience. But I feel like I'll take this. Thank you, Warner Brothers. I'll take it. Rather than you postponing the big movies over and over and over again, I'll take it. I'll watch it from my living room.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I guess in the long run, I'm more concerned about the long-term effects. I mean, I understand why they're doing it. I completely understand why they're doing it. And I'm appreciative that so far they're not going to try to charge us to watch it in our home, aside from the subscription fee. But I also wonder if they're going to...
now the Mulan effect.
Yeah. So at least we're not getting Mulan so far with no Vaseline. Oh, God, that movie was horrible. But I have mixed feelings about it, and I'm interested to see. I guess 2022 would be the first time that we really could say that we can begin to determine the new normal. So I guess we'll see what happens in the latter part of 2021, beginning of 2022, how that affects the theaters and movie going and everything like that. So, and big news this week for our boys, BTS. They took over their album B. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 200, which is the album charts. It's their second album to debut at number 1 this year. Map of the Soul also debuted at number 1, but it also debuted simultaneously. The song Life Goes On debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 200, which was like their third number 1 in 3 months. I mean, on the Hot 100 singles chart, which is their third number 1 in 3 months. Savage Love, Dynamite, and Life Goes On. And it was also the first non-English song to debut at number 1. So they are continuing to make history, as well as all 7 of their songs, with the exception of a skit, also debuted in the Hot 100 chart. So all of them are ranked in the chart. Dynamite's number 3, Life Goes On is number 1. So big shout out to BTS, who also won big at the Mamas last night. Which are the Mimit? What's the official name? The Mimit Asian Music Awards. To be honest,
I don't know what the official name is. They call them the Mamas. We're going to just call them the Mamas.
That's it, the Internet Asian Music Awards. So, big shout out to them. They won, 5 awards? 6 awards?
6 plus P-Dog won for producer and Bang won for executive producer, which just means that ultimately Big Bang won 7, 8, 9, 10 awards in total.
Oh wow, big hit. Because TXT won. Did 17 win?
Yeah, 17 won 1 award too. I forgot which one it was, but 17 also won.
Yeah, so BTS, and so this is the second year that BTS has swept all the I hope I'm saying it right, the Daesangs or Daesangs, which are the major awards at the Mama. So shout out to BTS. And I actually liked their performance. Did you like it?
It was good.
That means it was okay. I really liked the Dynamite performance. I like that they did something different, and I like the little.
You know how much of a fan I am of my boy J-Hope, because he can dance his ass off, and I just love that about him. That he's such an amazing dancer, and sometimes he just doesn't get the credit he deserves. but the dance break that they did for it, where they focused on him, I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. It was amazing. Like it was so good. So yeah, I did like it. I agree with you. I did like the Dynamite performance. I'll be honest, like, no, I liked all the performance. I think what it is for me is that, like, I love when BTS performs and they dance as well, even for their slow songs. And I guess for this album, what I'm thinking is gonna happen is that, you know, dancing ain't really gonna be their thing for this album. But life goes on. Like, it was a really nice concept that they did, where everybody was kind of like white face and everything like that, like with paint. Well, you thought it was paint, and like they were just frozen, and then all of a sudden, like, it just changed, and they got sugar, you know, hologram sugar came out, and that was really, really, I was just like, oh, we miss you so much.
Yeah, I think Life Goes On kind of reminds me of Make It Right. They don't have choreography for Make It Right either. They kind of came up with some for their New Year's Eve performance last year, but that's the song that they normally are just pretty chill when they perform to. I think if they actually officially release another single, because with the exception of the Blue and Gray, Life Goes On is the slowest song on the album. I think they would actually have to come up with choreography for the others. Like Fly Me to My Room is a bop you could dance to, you know. So
I don't think they would make up. I think it would be Disease, Telepathy, and then Dynamite.
Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, it didn't bother me that, you know, they didn't have any choreography for it. It just kind of reminds me of what Jin said. They asked Jin on his birthday what was his favorite song off the album. He goes, Life Goes On, because there's no choreo. So, you know. And by the way, shout out, happy belated birthday to Jin, who turned 20. Gosh, his Korean age, 29. And his real age is 28.
He's 28. Let's not, like, this ain't
his Korean age.
No, he's 28 years old. Okay, so my thing is with that is that, yes, okay, for his Korean age, he's 29. But when they talk about, like, when they're talking about the military and everything like that, they go by the international age. So, yeah, like, it's not like, because if they were going by Korean age, then he would have already joined the military. But he's 29. Well, so why don't you go by the Korean age for the military?
Well, you know, and also, speaking of which, that is, now that you bring that up, that's other news. They passed the BTS law this week in South Korea, which extends their military service or delays their military service for another 2 years. So they get at least until they're 30.
And it's not only for BTS, because other idols have already started to take advantage of it. So yay!
Yeah, I mean, you know, we'll see how it works out. I know that's a very controversial, military service is a very controversial thing in Korea. The old school people are all about it. The new school, they're like, yeah, I'll do it because I have to, but, you know, so we'll see. I'm not going to really speak too much on that because I'm not Korean, so, but any other great performances? I liked Scott Seven's performance. I hate that they didn't perform Breath and that they performed Not by the Moon.
They had to perform it. That was what they were nominated for. I realized that when I was watching it, and I was just like, why are they doing? And then I realized that was the song they were nominated for. So they had to perform the song that they were actually nominated for. That's just like with 17. 17 performed Left and Right, and then they performed Home Run. But Left and Right was last year, but they had to, because that was the song that they were nominated for. And I saw that a lot of groups did that, where they performed like an older song because that was their nominated song. So it's just like with BTS, where they performed their 2 nominated songs. It just happened to be that Dynamite, you know.
Well, you know, I never get tired of seeing On. I love On, and I kind of figured they wouldn't perform another song from B. So I was like, okay, but yeah, I saw in Hyphen performed also, and who else performed that I really liked?
I like Monster X. I thought they were real, like both of their performances, because you know they performed 2 nights. And like, I hate Beast Mode. And let me just say that right now. And I know we're going to talk about them a little bit later, but I hate Beast Mode. Like, I hate that song. But I may hate the song, but I like when they perform the song. Like, it's a great performance when they perform Beast Mode, but I just hate the song.
I haven't watched, I'm still making my way through the performances. I haven't watched Monster X yet.
They did Love Killer.
So I haven't watched their performance yet. It took me forever to get through the 1,003,000 NCT performances because they brought the whole NCT tribe, country, whatever you want to call all million members of them together. And so it was like NCT, NCTU, NCT 127, NCT 3, NCT Part 20. Like all of them, Wavy performed. And I'm like, oh, good Lord. So it was just like, all right, I am gaining a new respect for NCTU. And like you said, we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
I also like, although I would say one thing, I also hated the lip singing because nobody truly performed. Like they lip sang their whole performances. So it was really about the dance. But I liked, I don't know if you've heard of her, Wasa.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love the song Maria, and I watched like the dance practice video and the music video, and I just love it all. I think she did a really, really good job. So yeah, like I think she was the only female artist. I haven't watched Boa yet to see how Boa did for her performance, but I love the video that Boa did. So
did Blackpink perform?
No, they did not.
That's what I was like. They were shut out pretty much.
They were. They won one award, twice won. I think it's like 2 or 3 awards, twice won. Blackpink won 1 award. They were talking about that in an article on all K-pop. How it's kind of like they were a little bit like shut out at Mama, being the most popular like girl group, but
Yeah, so I was like, okay, that surprised me. I still have mixed emotions about Blackpink. They're hit or miss with me sometimes. But I do respect, like, I do respect their game. Like, they are, legit. I just haven't really converted into a full-fledged fan. But they also announced this week that they were going to have their first virtual live stream concert. And maybe the reason why I'm not a fan is because they seem lazy with the way they title stuff. Because I will give you 3 guesses as to what they're calling their concert. No, you're close. It's called The Show. So, they had Blackpink, the album, and now they're having Blackpink, the show. And I'm like, God. Whoever your marketing person is the laziest motherfucker in the world. You need to fire them. Like, really. They put absolutely no thought into that. None. And it's like, oh, it's Blackpink. They're going to sell anyway. We don't have to really worry about what we call it. And I'm just like, The Show? Really?
The Show.
The Show. So,
wait. One more thing. So I found out, remember when we were discussing like this whole New Year's Eve concert that Big Hit is supposed to be having for the whole family? And we were trying to figure out like what happened to 17. They finally announced why 17 is not going to be performing at the concert. They are actually going to be performing at the Japanese New Year's Eve concert. I think they're like a headliner or something like that. So because of that, it was just announced. That's the reason why they won't be able to be part of Big Hit. I was just like, oh, okay, well, go ahead and get your own headlining show for New Year's Eve.
Well, you said it was something that they'd already signed up for.
Yeah, they signed up for it a while ago. It just finally came out telling us exactly why they weren't going to be at the Big Hit concert.
And, unless it had to do with Big Hit's beef with this TV station that they're beefing with, that's been going on for years. I'm finding out more and more about that, but that's been going on for years. I didn't think they would make them drop out. But what I was saying about Blackpink is that their show, I'm interested to see how it's going to do, because Dua Lipa recently did a live stream concert. She had 5 million live streams. So which was a record-breaking number. I think the highest had been like 1 million or so, and that was with BTS. With their second one, Map of the Show got like what, 1 million, 1,000,005, something like that. But she got 5 million. So we'll see.
Wait, what'd you say?
What?
1 million?
How many did BTS get? Like actual live streams, people who turned in. I'm not talking about
10.
Oh, 10. My bad. Dang, why you get all up in my grill like that?
Because you try to make it sound like she beat them, and she did not.
My bad. I misspoke. I'm sorry. It happens. I'm human. Dang, that cut me in my heart. My heart hurts.
I just had to make sure you were corrected.
Like I'm bleeding out and shit. Anyway, so Dua Lipa, her concert did well is the point. Of course, we know she's not on Bang Things level, but, you know.
No, it's really great.
Okay.
It's really, really good. It's really, really great, you know.
So, and I remember, just like what Warner Brothers is doing to boost up HBO Max, their power move, they're playing a very dangerous game. We'll see how it turns out. But, her concert, I remember when we signed up for the BTS concert, and I remember filling out the questionnaire. I don't know that you filled it out, but it asked like if you would continue when the world gets back right to do virtual concerts, or would you go? For groups that you know it's going to be hard to get tickets to, like BTS, I would do a virtual concert. And there are some concerts like I like watching Coachella because I can never get to Coachella. They live stream that weekend on YouTube, and I always tune in to watch Coachella. So I think some sort of hybrid for virtual concerts, I also think that's going to be the wave of the future. So Rona we will see how we adjust or how we readjust, because there is no going back to what it was before. We're just going to have to see how it happens, because these artists, even though they say they miss the fan interaction, and I'm sure they do, they're making so much more money by doing these live stream concerts, and their overhead is so much cheaper. They don't have to pay for a whole tour and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens when the world gets back right. Well, that does it for the wind down. Go grab you some popcorn, take a sip of wine, and we'll be back with our review of Dash and Lily after the break. Welcome back. We are going to be discussing Dash and Lily, currently streaming on Netflix. Dash and Lily is Netflix's first Christmas series. And the question seems to be, what happens when...
Start over.
I'm about to.
You sound very awkward. Don't try to make it all cutesy. Just state what the show is about, and keep it moving.
Okay.
I want some chocolate.
3, 2, 1, let's get it. Welcome back. This week we will be discussing Dash and Lily, currently streaming on Netflix. The main question is, do opposites really attract? And that seems to be answered when Dash, a cynical, snarky teenager, and Lily, who can best be described as a quirky ball of sunshine, begin trading messages in a red notebook, which they leave throughout New York City for each other. This was Netflix's first Christmas series, and that's why I really wanted to review it, because it was something new. We get Christmas movies, but not Christmas series. So, what did you think about it?
I thought it was cute. I should stop using that word, right? I thought it was really, really cute. I did not think that I would actually enjoy it, or I would like it when I first got started. I was ready to be bored, but I wasn't. Once I got into the second half of episode 2, I was just like, oh, okay, this will be like a cute teen thing. All right, that's cute. The girl had a very pathetic life. I'm just gonna put that out there. Which was very, very sad for living in New York City, and your life was pathetic. But yeah, I enjoyed it. What did you think?
I wrote down the same thing. I thought it was cute. I kind of figured after the trailer I would like it. But I will say those are the oldest looking freaking teenagers I've ever seen in my life.
Now I felt like she could kind of pass when you didn't look too closely at her, because when you look too closely, you could realize like, no, that girl is not in high school. But if you kind of like just watched her in the scenes, she could pass for a high schooler, like a senior, not the junior that I think she was passing for. But him, come on now, dude is clearly in his 20s.
And then he was, and then Edgar looked like a full grown ass man.
Full man.
Like he looked like.
And not like a teen, like there are some teenagers that look really like older, right? Like you could mistake them for adults. But nah, like he looked like a full-on adult. Not a teenager pretending to be, a full-on adult.
He's going to be, the dude who plays Edgar is going to be 30 next year, the beginning of the year, 1991. Oh my God,
and they had him play a teenager? He doesn't even look like one.
Like, and so that kind of threw me off. Like I could kind of escape. I would let Dash make it, because I get it. Going back to the original 90210, when you had a 40-year-old Luke Perry playing Dylan McKay. He wasn't quite 40 at the time, but he was the oldest cast member. I get it that they do age. It's hard to find someone to play that role, but
I'm so sorry, but wasn't Gabrielle Union in her 30s when she played a 17-year-old and played that role well? I'm just saying.
She was in her, I don't know if she was quite in her 30s, but she was in her 20s, her mid to late 20s. And I get it. I do. But yeah, that his casting threw me off. The other guy, the lead, Austin Abrams, he is 24. So that's not quite.
He looking like 28.
It's not quite as egregious, but yeah. So that was one of my things, is that they could have done a better, even if they were going to cast older, they could have done a better job. Because Edgar, I'm sorry, bro, he looked almost every bit of his 30 years. Like
he had a drink in his hand, and he looked like there was no problem with him having a drink in his hand.
Yeah, like he would never have been carded in that bar.
Ever.
Like, yeah, so I was just like, how old? Like, did you feel? Like, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Saved by the Bell, but there's this episode where they keep having like all these old people come try to hit on them to take them to prom. And I mean like old, like septuagenarian, like 70-year-olds, and the girl is like, I know they're not in our high school class. Like, I know they're not. Like, Grandpa, I can see your depends. So that's how I felt with Edgar. But aside from that, I did like it. I thought it was really cute. I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And it followed some of the typical YA or teen tropes, which, they do. But I also like that it was very smartly written. And I agree with you. I get that she was the quirky nerd, but it's like, did they have to make her so pathetic?
Okay. Here's my thing. All right. Now, like, I have my group of friends. Like, we have groups of friends from different, times in our lives. And I have my group of friends, and I call them the New York crew. And I have never met somebody, even when I was a teenager, who was from the tri-state area, who didn't even have one friend. Did you realize she had not one friend in that whole show?
She had her caroling group.
She didn't have one friend in that whole show?
She had her caroling group.
They were not friends. They were not her friends. Like, I mean, like an honest friend that she should have had that was her age, and she had none. Like, usually you'll have like that quirky girl, and she'll have that friend who, just kind of flows with her on her quirkiness. Like even when she was in middle school, you had nobody, not one person that you connected to in the whole time that you were growing up in one of the biggest cities in the world.
Well, they told her, I guess they explained that, that the trauma from those friendship bracelets in middle school, like a part of me could relate to her in the sense that I was, and I still am, probably very quirky, very nerdy. I marched to the beat of my...
But you have friends. And you've had a friend since you were, in elementary school, right?
Yeah, I've had several friends.
No. You can't compare yourself to that.
Just not the friendlessness, but the still kind of feeling like you don't always fit in. Because even with my group of friends, I didn't always feel like I felt in, like I fit in.
But that's a teenage thing, though. Like I have the same thing. Like I like very different things from my group of friends, and I still to this day sometimes be like, "How are we friends?" Because we don't like the same movies, we don't like the same music, but at the same time, like we still grew up together, and there is a sense of friendship and loyalty, with my groups of friends, and that's what threw me off the whole show was that. Your friends, the people that you hang with on a normal basis is your grandfather, your parents, and adult carolers.
Yeah, and that's what her brother was saying. And it was the trauma from middle school where,
But she had no friends before middle school.
Well, when she tried, she made the friendship bracelets and they all laughed at her. And that just was like, okay. So she withdrew into her bubble and she just hung out with her family. That was her tribe. And, but I get
pathetic.
I get what you're saying about her not having at least one friend. They could have done her a service and given her one friend.
Everybody has that one friend.
So, besides their grandfather and their brother, I loved her brother, although he was fucked up. I did like her brother.
I loved her brother. I thought he was the best character. Because he didn't end up the way that I thought he was going to. Like, I thought he was going to be that annoying, like, older brother who, kind of gives her some advice, but really, like, stays in his own bubble and is just there every once in a while for a scene. But no, they were actually really, really close. And, he helped her from the beginning. And I loved his personality.
Yeah, I loved him too. But he was fucked up. Like, he broke up with Benny. Like, you thought, I'm with her.
He has issues with distance.
He was going out of town to visit his grandmother for 2 weeks over the holidays.
In Puerto Rico.
He was going out of town to visit his grandmother for 2 weeks over the holidays.
Look, no. Like he said, he has issues with distance, and he was going to Puerto Rico, which is basically out of the country. So.
For 2 fucking weeks. No. I was like, ooh, child, to get like, nah, bruh. Like,
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Like, it was ridiculous how he broke up with his boyfriend, and she's thinking like he's moving to Puerto Rico forever. Yeah. And then she finds out he's going to Puerto Rico for 2 months. For 2 weeks. And you broke up with him.
You should have break up with somebody because of that. And he's just like, and I was just like, dude, you are so stupid. But I did like his boyfriend. I liked Benny. Like you said, her brother turned out to be Langston is his name. Turned out to be a totally different character than I thought he would be. And I'm happy for it. I loved her great aunt Lillian. The Mrs. Basil E, the nickname that she gave her. I loved Aunt Lillian. She was amazing. But my favorite character was...
You ever read that book?
I have not.
I'm shocked.
I have not. I didn't... You know what is weird? As much as I love to read, even as a kid, I didn't read a lot of like children's books. Like, I just didn't. They didn't interest me. So I would, even as a child, I was always reading above my level. Like, I read The Cat in the Hat when I was learning to read, Dr. Seuss books when I was learning to read, and Mickey Mouse, because, I love Mickey Mouse. But as far as just actually reading a lot of children's books, even as a child, I didn't. I always read above my level. Like, I was reading biographies and stuff like that, autobiographies. Yeah, I know, nerd. Or science.
I didn't say it. You said that.
I can read your mind through the screen, okay?
I didn't say anything. I was
saw
just listening quietly to what you were saying.
I saw the look, I saw the eye roll, and it was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's what you were thinking in your head, and you're probably gonna be like, you do you, boo. And you're like, that explains so much.
Oh god.
So
it just explains a little bit more.
You know, but no, so I can't say honestly that I've ever read a lot of children's books. I didn't.
Oh, no, I can understand that because, you know, like, I was kind of the same way, but it was for TV shows. So, like, I didn't watch kid shows. I watched basically, like, adult shows or shows I shouldn't watch. Because people are always shocked when I tell them, like, Beverly Hills 90210 was my show, and I started watching it when it first premiered. Like, I watched the first episode, and they were like, wait, how old were you? And I was just like, I was 8. I was 8 years old when Beverly Hills 90210 came out, and I watched it religiously for 10 years.
Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of children's shows either, but you know, so I wasn't the kid to
very
get up
inappropriate. Don't very inappropriate show to watch when you're 8 and 9 years old.
I wasn't the kid to get up early for Saturday cartoons and all of that, so. But I loved Boomer. Boomer was probably my favorite character. I loved his best friend, Boomer. He was just funny. He kept it real. He was a little quirky himself. I loved his movie references and his love of movies. And one of my favorite.
That his family also like accepted Dash, and his mom called him what? Peculiar
And finicky.
Yeah, and finicky. But like you knew, like if like when he went over, you know, what was it on Christmas or yeah? So when he went over on Christmas, and he was just like, "Hey, you want to come in?" and his whole family there, and I was just like, they gotta have a real cool friendship and been friends for a really long time. If he's like, yo, just come on in, like we gonna chill, like, you know, we got this big bird that we about to eat, and I was just like, I like their friendship. I will say that I really did like him and Boomer's friendship. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, because you know, and and Dash told Boomer that he helped his mom pick out his Christmas present, so it was like, okay, you know, they must be cool. And if he did that, and plus, you know, Dash was who he was, like I said, cynical, snarky, obnoxious. He could be a bit of an asshole, kind of pretentious. You know, you could tell he came from New York City money, the divorced parents, but Boomer described it best. Once your walls are up, but once you get to know you, you're not the person everyone thinks you are. You're not even who you think you are. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was one of the things that I liked about it, even though he and Lily, they did this friendship through this journal, and they start to change. They change because of each other, but they don't necessarily change for each other, if that makes sense. Does it really, or is that one of those, yeah, whatever you say?
No. I get what you're saying. You know, I will say that I was not interested in the romance of the show. I like the fact that they like Lily started to really like open up, and she started to get out of her weird, pathetic bubble that she lived in for her 17 years of life. Yes, I'm calling it weird and pathetic bubble that she lived in for 17 years.
We're gonna take a shot every time you call her pathetic.
Pathetic. That's what 5, 6 shots already. I'm drunk. On, you know, I liked how she grew. She grew as an individual, especially when she stood up to herself against her grandfather. Yeah. I love that development of her character. The romance, no. Like they're not gonna last. So.
Like, I wasn't, you know what? I will have to agree. I think because we saw what was in, I'm not going to say they're not going to last. I'm going to say I was more interested in the friendship and the character development because they both changed. Because and you saw his change when he had dinner with his dad. And you could tell that him and his dad really didn't get along. They really didn't have much use for each other. And so the way they started the dinner, and then when his dad was like, I don't understand why you like books so much anyway. I can't get you to go out of town with me, but whatever, you get lost in the books. And you can tell there was a moment when the old Dash would have just said something snarky and cynical and something sarcastic, and it just would have started a huge blow up. But then he took a moment. Her words played through his head about what to do when you're having a problem and how that sometimes you have to attack a problem differently. And he just said, well, because after my baseball games, you would always take me to that bookstore, and that's what developed my love of reading. And his dad had a great response to that. I was like, oh, okay. So it's like they had more in common than they thought, or it was just, so I liked that response. And I think I saw the potential for them to actually have a real relationship when they met at the party, but they didn't know who the other was. I think we saw that, yeah, they really would have, and they really did like each other. So if it's renewed for season 2, if we get another Dash and Lily next year, I would actually like to see them, how they navigate it as a couple. But
I feel like it would be so nostalgic if they actually like show them at okay. So like how some shows and movies is kind of like they give you the happily ever after and then it cuts to black. And I feel like Dash and Lily was the perfect cut to black. I don't want to see y'all relationship because it's gonna take away the fantasy of y'all having that connection, because I don't believe you would actually have a good relationship together. I don't. I think they would have a great friendship. I think the vibe that they gave off, they would have an awesome friendship. But relationship, nah, I don't see it.
And maybe, but you know what? And that might be the way to go with them. Like, because they were both so sheltered when it came to relationships, because he was with, what's her name? Sophia. And the reason that Boomer didn't like Sophia, he came out and said, it's not because Sophia is a bad person. She's great. She's smart. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's rich. She's
obviously, that's how he started to get with her at the end. But yeah.
But he was saying she's bad for you because of who you are when you're with her. Like, and that's what he's saying. It's like, yeah, on paper, but she's not a bad person. You two just aren't good together because of who you are and how you are when you're with her. And I get that. So maybe they would find that they are better off as friends and see them with other people. So, I mean, when I say relationship, maybe it not necessarily mean the romance of it all, but just how their friendship would evolve and develop, and if they can make it work, or if they find out, hey, we are better off as friends or whatever. And as long as she doesn't end up with 40-year-old Edgar.
Oh my gosh. Like that was just, and then he was a douche as well. Like he was such a douche. And I was just like if this was supposed to be y'all kind of getting her to change her mind on who he is, I didn't see it, because I felt like he acted the same way he was when he was 12.
Like he kept calling her weird, and then he called her his little weirdo, and I'm like,
even after she, kind of like her reaction, like
spilled her heart at the poetry jam.
Yeah, like read the room. But I did love when she was at the poetry jam, and she was talking to him, and she was just like, and I was 12 years old. One of the best things that he did was when he stood up and he said, "So was I," and I was just like, yeah, he was a 12-year-old boy. Like, and I get that it completely changed her whole direction in life, and it made her close herself off to having friendships. I definitely get that, because it is hard for people that are considered to be weird and not following the norm to really develop, really close friendships. I will say that. That's, yeah. But at the same time, like, yeah, he was 12 years old.
And I get it. It's like sometimes when we're going through it, we don't really think of it. And I think because of that moment, she built him up in her head to be something so much more. And because he wasn't just the kid who, quote unquote, bullied her in school, he was also her crush. And he had her think, when everyone else threw the bracelet down, she was like, oh, okay. But when he did it and she heard what he said, I guess because of how she felt about him, it just it did. I don't understand how I understand the impact. I just don't understand how it impacted her as much as it did.
I didn't see the bullying. Like, I'm sorry, but I didn't see the bullying. Like, they didn't really emphasize any of the bullying. Like, I guess we were supposed to just automatically assume that he was a bully because she called him her bully. But all that he did was that he really just didn't put any significance into the bracelet, or she thought he didn't put any significance into the bracelet that she gave him. But you didn't see anything where like she actually was bullied by anybody.
Yeah, I think
there weren't actual moments of her being bullied.
Well, maybe they just didn't, how they're trying to move away from that. Maybe they didn't want to show it. It's based on a series of books, and I haven't read the books, so I can't tell you if it's actually in the books or not. I guess we were also supposed to get that idea when he said that he burnt down the school, or he burnt down something. He set that major fire, and his dad sent him off to boarding school. Mm-hmm. So maybe we're just supposed to assume, based on what he said. And
he was a bad kid?
Yeah, the context clues that he was just the asshole kid. And I don't know. But so, and I loved what her brother told her about her first kiss. He's like, I don't remember my first kiss, but I remember my second. And he was like, it's just about the first one that really matters. And I was like, oh, that was great. Like, I did like her brother. He was an ass. He was a hot mess. I loved it when he was like, oh, let me show you how it's done. Like how he was being judged by Grandpa, but he sat through it to take the money.
He was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
We still going? Okay. Yeah, I think I'm ready now. I think I'm ready. And then he turned around with the cash in his hand and he was like, that's how it's done.
But Grandpa just, and I get it. Grandpa was old school.
I didn't like your grandpa.
I get that he was her person. I saw the moments of where he was nice and where he could be a good person. And I'm not saying he was a bad grandpa, but he was a bad brother and he was a bad friend.
Well, so okay, so here's my thing with the grandfather, right? So you mean to tell me for 17 years you helped raise her? You like majority of the time, the people that she hangs with, because if you really know who she is, then you know that the people that she hung with on a regular basis were your older friends that she called her uncles, you, her parents, and her brother. That is who she hung out with on a regular basis. So what kind of like threw me off was when she came home at, 4:00 in the morning or something like that, right? And he just snapped at her. And I was just like, so there's going to be no consideration into the fact that she's never in her, like there was no mention of the fact that she had never in her life ever done something like that. There was no conversation about like, where was she? What was she doing? Like, there was no sit down. It was automatic. You're grounded and you're not going out for the rest of this time. And I'm just like, but you should know your granddaughter. And this is just not who she is. Like that's not who she is as a person. And then when he was trying to give her the cash and he was like, oh, you've changed. And, if you tell me that it was all because of that boy, then I'll let you stay with me. Seriously? Like that's the kind of grandfather you want to be? Like it just threw me off because it lets you know you didn't really know her. You didn't know her enough to realize that there were certain things that she was going through and to have that conversation with her. So were you really her person? No.
I think I agree with you on a lot of that. I think it's just from the fact that, what's that saying? Oh, gosh. Well, I can't think of it right now, obviously. But it has to do with how protective they are. You know how girls and boys are treated so differently. You walk in on your grandson with a naked dude in his room and you just chastise him like, oh, okay. That's still disrespectful to walk in and you're hooking up in my house. This isn't your house.
And they didn't even talk about the gender differences.
Exactly. So it's just how he was super, super protective of her and still treated her like she was this gilded flower and wanted to keep her in a cage. And when she started actually, because, I think it was more of a shock of anything. I think it flashed him back to whatever issues he had with his sister being the wild child when she left the family and went on tour with the Rolling Stones and her artsy life and all of that kind of stuff. And then versus his granddaughter, who had always been this perfect child who no one ever has to worry about. But obviously they did have to worry about her because they lied about her family moving to Fiji. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So
Oh well, I looked at that as in the reason why is because she's so like happy go lucky, and they didn't want to destroy. And they knew, even as everybody kind of went and did their own thing, they knew that Christmas was very very important to her, and yet y'all still all left her and didn't like tell her until it was too late. That
yeah,
y'all were all literally gonna separate from her on Christmas.
and and I think it's the way she found out more than anything than just, but so there were some things that I was like, okay, the human messiness of it all. It wasn't perfect, and I kind of, even though it drove me crazy in a little bit, I kind of got that's being human. Life is not perfect. Life is messy. So even those moments, and even the people that we love the most, those are the ones who usually hurt us and disappoint us the most. So Grandpa was an ass, but I kind of understood where he's coming from. Not justifying it, not saying he was, but I know, I recognized why he was being the way he was being. Didn't make it any better.
I know why he was being what he was being, but yeah, you're not forgiven. He was an asshole.
It didn't make it any better because I hated the way he treated Mrs. Basil E. I'm like, dude, you're such an ass.
And it was kind of like, oh, he's just automatically forgiven. Like, for a minute there, I thought like, oh, is Grandpa dying? Is that the reason why he's being an asshole?
That's what I thought too. Like,
but no, Grandpa not dying. He just happens to be in love with a woman that lives in Florida. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he mad because his side piece don't want to move up to New York.
Exactly. And say about how my whole life is in New York. And it's like, then you don't really love her then.
So it was interesting. Okay, so we talked about whether or not it should be a sequel. What are you going to rate?
Did you talk about the sequel part?
Yeah, you said that you thought it faded to black at the perfect spot.
You sure right? I did say that. My bad. Wait. Before we get to the ratings, I do want to point out like some cute moments that I love that is usually in holiday movies, but I really, really, really love those scenes. So I love the fact that she sent him on to go and look at the Christmas lights on the different houses.
Oh, that was amazing.
That's like always been like a Christmas tradition for me and my mom, where we would just get in the car and we would just drive around. There's certain neighborhoods where everybody does up their houses and they have competitions and stuff. And I love that. So I thought that was really, really cool. I definitely enjoyed it. I love that she sent him, he sent her to Grand Central Station before the first train. It was him, right? Who sent her to Grand Central Station?
Mm-hmm.
Before the first train. And because it's so quiet, like it. But then, can I just say a little BTS?
I thought about when they filmed on there too.
When she was walking through, the automatic thing was, oh, Jimmy Fallon. No, not Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon and on with BTS. Like that was my automatic thought. Of like, oh, they did it at like what 2-3 o'clock in the morning. It was 5 o'clock, that she was there. But it's so quiet, and it is one of the best things when you go to Grand Central Station so early. I know most people are morning people, so they don't do it. But you go so early. You go when it's really quiet. There's not that many people before the morning rush starts. Like it helps you think. Like I did it once, and it really, really helps you think. Or when you just walk around Times Square when nobody is really out but the weirdos. Like it is an amazing, because they really are out, at that time. But it is an amazing feeling just to walk the street and clear your mind. So yeah, I those were my two like favorite scenes. Was that, because that's a tradition, and I've done it myself, and it's always peaceful to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, I liked when he sent her on the rage monster. Like when he was like, I'm not trying to change who you are, but I get that you're basically a happy-go-lucky person, but we all have that moment where we just have to yell, fuck it, and want to cheer up some stuff. And so when she finally started destroying those snowmen, I'm like, oh God, thank you. She's not, she's not going to turn into a psychotic serial killer.
Yes.
With that
she did make a puppet.
With that creepy puppet. Yeah.
So she was already weird as fuck because she made a puppet. And she was so excited about her puppet.
But yeah.
She gave her puppet hair.
So what would you rate Dash and Lily?
A 3.
Okay, we're on.
Like a solid three. Like I enjoyed it. It was cute. It was really really cute. I'll never again in my life watch it. So even if it comes out with a sequel, we are not reviewing it. I'll put that out there right now. But it was cute for what it was. Very unrealistic, and she was extremely pathetic. So that loses the whole point from her pathetic modes. What is that, like 10 shots so far?
10.
But overall, I did enjoy it. I'm gonna give it a solid 3 on the enjoyment of it. It had me thinking like I could actually like talk about it and everything like that. Unlike, you know, some other shows and Christmas movies that I watch where I was just like, oh my god, this is so cliche. Like I just can't. But yeah, but it was good. It was good. It was a solid 3. What about you?
I'm going to give it a solid 3.25. So I just went up a quarter of a bucket more than you did. But if there's a sequel, I would watch it. Is this something that I just have to watch? No, this would probably be a holiday thing that, you know, I would watch on the holidays, but nothing that I would watch year round. But, you know, it did its thing. It didn't make me want to go read the books or the series. So it wasn't just, you know.
Not at all.
But it was better than I thought it was going to be. So I really, truly enjoyed that. All right. So that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Be sure to join us next week when we start our slate of year-end special shows, beginning with our top 10. We will be reviewing the top 10 moments or our top 10 list for the Popcorn Wind Down. So until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.